New court filings are pulling Taylor Swift directly into the Blake Lively-Justin Baldoni legal war, revealing private texts that, if true, shows Swift may be siding with Lively, maybe then not, reacting behind the scenes as the controversy was about to explode. And I will tell you, those texts are just part of a much larger evidentiary dump, including witness testimony, private reactions, all from the people at the center of this fight. And we're going to break it all down for you right now. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. All right, so we are now seeing exactly what Taylor Swift is alleged to have texted Blake Lively about Justin Baldoni in the middle of this multi-million-dollar legal fight. It's been a minute since we've covered this, but I mean, how can we not? The messages revealed in new court filings are just brutal. Messages that, if authentic, if true, suggest, I think the argument would be, Swift wasn't just a bystander in this Hollywood legal fight. The filings lay out just a blunt behind-the-scenes exchange that reads like Swift and Lively reacting in real time just as the story was about to explode. This is a massive new filing in the Blake Lively versus Justin Baldoni lawsuit that has just been unsealed, and it contains dozens and dozens of exhibits, hundreds of pages of what the filing presents as private text messages, witness testimony, behind-the-scenes notes. It kind of pulls back the curtain on one of Hollywood's nastiest and ugliest fights that we've seen in quite some time. And for those of you who need a quick refresher, I think I do, I haven't done this in a while, this is the battle, remember, over the film. It ends with us. Blake Lively starred in it, Justin Baldoni directed it, he was a co-star, and Lively sued Baldoni and his production company, Wayfarer Studios, alleging a toxic and sexually harassing environment on set. Baldoni, as we know, countersued for hundreds of millions of dollars, claiming that it was Lively and her husband, Ryan Reynolds, who ran a smear campaign against him, tried to take over the movie. By the way, that countersuit was later dismissed after Baldoni decided not to file any amended claims against Lively, although Baldoni can still appeal that decision. But nonetheless, it has been a very, very messy he said, she said drama for now over a year. But I will tell you, this new filing, it aims to move past the speculation, the rumors, the innuendos. It is filled with what are seemingly presented as their own words captured in real time as all of this was going on. So first off, it includes what are presented as texts between Blake Lively and her one-time good friend Taylor Swift that appear to show Swift taking Lively's side and maybe even discussing strategy. And if you've been wondering, how involved was Taylor really? These pages are why that question just got a whole lot louder. And the filing also includes what are described as Justin Baldoni's private texts to friends like Rainn Wilson, the actor, where he allegedly described an ambush meeting with Lively and Ryan Reynolds that left him, quote, emotionally paralyzed. And it contains a witness deposition where it's alleged that Ryan Reynolds had yelled at Baldoni during a meeting that went on for over 5 hours. There is so much more to get into here, and we're going to just take you through all of it page by page, as most of it as we possibly can. I mean, we can't make a 3-hour sidebar here, but first of all, just got to set the stage a little bit. So the story starts with what was supposed to be a huge hit. 2023, the film adaptation of Colleen Hoover's massive bestseller, It Ends With Us, goes into production. Justin Baldoni's the director, he's the star, Blake Lively co-star, the film's leading lady. But according to the lawsuits, according to the legal filings, almost from the beginning there was tension. Lively's suit alleges that Baldoni created a hostile environment, making inappropriate comments, crossing professional boundaries. She claims that when she raised concerns, the response was retaliation. Baldoni's side tells a completely different story because in his now dismissed countersuit, he claimed that Lively was a diva who tried to hijack creative control, rewriting scripts, changing the wardrobe, making unreasonable demands. He alleges that when he pushed back, Lively, along with her husband Ryan Reynolds, launched a coordinated smear campaign against him to damage his reputation and essentially force him off his own project. And this war eventually went from behind the scenes to center stage because in late 2024, a New York Times article detailed allegations of a retaliatory campaign against Lively, which she said was orchestrated by Baldoni's team. And that article became a central piece of this legal battle. And then came the lawsuits, right? So Lively sued for harassment and a hostile work environment. Baldoni countersued for defamation, extortion, seeking $400 million. That countersuit, as I mentioned, was later dismissed after he reportedly chose not to amend his claims, though he retains the right to appeal. And what remained was Lively's original suit, which, by the way, is heading towards trial. And that's where we were, right? This bitter, stalemate with dueling narratives and all that until now. Because what has just happened? This new unsealed filing isn't just legal arguments. It is what each side will be claiming is the raw contemporaneous evidence, the texts, the emails, the private reactions as this feud was unfolding in real time. So what is the actual lawsuit moving forward? What is at stake right now? Well, Blake Lively's original lawsuit is still active. It's headed for trial. And this week, a judge unsealed a massive trove of documents that both sides had filed under seal. And this new unsealed filing gives us the specific granular details that Lively's legal team is using to build their case and that Baldoni's team is trying to dismantle. And it's important to note that this evidence itself was fought over. Baldoni's talent agency, WME, William Morris Endeavor, had filed a motion seeking to keep all these very texts sealed. No one would see it, arguing they were private, not legally relevant. Judge seemed to disagree, allowed them to be unsealed. Now the world is seeing it. And there is already pushback on the framing, by the way. A source close to Lively disputes Baldoni's narrative about the timeline of events. The source claims the messages in question, including those about the ambush meeting, only came after Lively had outlined serious onset issues and after more than a dozen safety protections had already been agreed to in writing. So Lively allegedly responds that they show an exchange dated December 5th, 2024. And according to the filing, it seems that Swift sent Lively a screenshot of a news article about Baldoni with this message, quote, "I think this B knows something is coming because he's gotten out his tiny violin." Now Lively allegedly responds, "He's not. He just has a team. Yeah, her, and his publicist Jennifer Abel, and the comms people at his studio." Now Swift's apparent next message, according to the filing, is, "He needs to be beaten by his own words." Lively allegedly replies, "Everyone weighs in before he responds to a text, writes an email, or trims his hair. It's wild, everyone participates." And then the filing seems to show Lively's apparent text that reads, "Yeah, I actually think it's important he's honored. And to all the people honoring him and not taking a moment to question, no one talks to him, no one will say his name, no one follows him, yet they all are close with each other. Maybe it was with him. Nah, it was the women because they were flowers. That's how you know." Swift is quoted as responding, "Is everything still on track?" Lively's alleged reply, "Oh yes, a week later though, but worth the wait." And Swift apparently responds, "Okay, that's perfect. His own words, that's going to be powerful." Lively apparently responds, "That's what's wild about this entire thing. Everything is in their own words." And Swift apparently responds, "It's the only way to beat liars and hypocrites." Now the conversation, as presented in the filing, continues with Lively apparently texting, "Can you imagine feeling as confident as these predators that you're going to always get away with it? Him accepting an award as an ally for women, and Scooter going about the world with his head held high," meaning seemingly Scooter Braun. Swift seemingly replies, "It's like a horror film no one knows is taking place." And Lively's final message in this sequence appears to be, "Oh, but they will. It's the only thing that can come of this. The good that protects other women from this happening to them. Meanwhile, I walk around feeling death sentence guilty and apologetic for being sarcastic and liking a theme party." By the way, before we finish with Taylor Swift, it's just another message I have to talk about. There's these apparent messages between Taylor Swift and Blake Lively. You fast forward to December of 2024 when everything was happening. So there's this message from Blake Lively where she goes, "Hey, just checking in. I have no reason to ask, but I don't know. I've been feeling like I should. Is everything okay?" And Taylor responds, I mean, there's a longer message, but Taylor then responds, "No, you're not wrong, but it's also not a big deal. I think I'm just exhausted in every avenue of my life, and in recent months have been feeling a little bit of a shift in the way you talk to me. Yes, there's been a lot of the Justin stuff, but I've been through things like this before, and I know how all-consuming it is. It's more like, and I feel really bad saying anything about this because your texts have been so nice in their intent, but your last few, I felt like I was reading a mass corporate email sent to 200 employees. You said the word we like 18 times, and it feels awful to be in any way critical of any way you process what you've been going through, but I just kind of miss my funny, dark, normal-speaking friend who talks to me as herself, not like a plural unit. When it's group I'm hearing from, I feel distance from you even more than we are geographically." And it appears that Blake Lively responds, "Dear valued customer, thank you for your feedback. We at headquarters are reviewing your concerns and we'll get back to you in a timely manner. Now, I want to look at a completely different narrative that was presented in the filing, and this comes from a document titled Notes from Call with Jamie and Tara. So it's dated July 25th, 2024, and Jamie Heath is apparently Justin Baldoni's producing partner, co-founder of Wayfarer Studios. And these notes, allegedly summarizing the perspective, kind of lay out a series of grievances against Blake Lively. So the notes kind of describe the project's origin, saying that Justin Baldoni acquired the rights to Colleen Hoover's novel and spent years developing it. They state, 2.5 years ago, partnered with Sony to make the movie, cast Blake Lively, quickly learned that she is every bit of a superstar, and that comes with superstardom. And the notes then list alleged issues regarding wardrobe. They claim, quote, and this is from the docs, Blake started spending on her own and changed the whole wardrobe, no regard as to how this affected production. On script changes, the notes allege, every page she had her fingerprint on. And then the document describes this major turning point, a list of apparent demands that Lively allegedly sent to return to set after an industry strike, and it quotes several conditions, including, quote, Justin Baldoni shall not talk about his porn addiction with Blake Lively. Wayfarer shall not enter BL's trailer in a state of undress. No one from Wayfarer shall not hug, touch in any way Blake, Lively, or her team. Must be closed set during rehearsal or filming of nudity. And by the way, Lively's side would say that's because of the harassment that she was receiving. Now, the notes go on to describe the infamous January 4th meeting at Lively's apartment. This was apparently a big issue. They allege, quote, Ryan chastised him for being dramatic. It's not about you, it's about her. This goes on for an hour. Ryan chastised Jamie and Justin again. Justin, why can't you be more like your partner? Now, a huge part of this evidence revolves around one pivotal event, this marathon meeting, this apparent marathon meeting at Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds' New York apartment on January 4th, 2024. According to the filing, this happened the day before the film was set to resume shooting after this industry strike, and multiple people from the production were there, allegedly under the impression that it was a standard return-to-work meeting. But what unfolded, as described in these documents, was a lengthy confrontation. The filing contains sworn witness testimony about this meeting from Andrea Giannetti, a producer on the film, and in her video deposition, she seemingly describes what she walked into. Was Ryan Reynolds yelling at Justin? Answer, it was a very long meeting, and there were times, yes, his voice was raised. Did you feel bad for Justin? Yes, I think it went over 5 hours, and he was visibly frozen. And then she was asked about the reaction of veteran producer Todd Black, who was also there. Question, did he tell you it was one of the harshest meetings he had ever been to in his entire career? Answer, he did. It was the fact that we were not prepared in the length of the meeting and that there was, I don't even think there was a break. We never experienced that. And then the filing presents alleged private messages from Ryan Reynolds that show, or appear to show, the intense personal feelings that were involved here. So you have a series of texts that were dated May 17, 2024, where Reynolds is allegedly messaging Matt and Lucy Damon to ask for their support for Lively's cut of the film. And in one message, Reynolds allegedly describes Baldoni as, quote, a malignantly vain, sociopathic, faux feminist with almost no sense of boundaries or shame. I cannot believe he hasn't gone to jail. In another alleged text from the same day sent to Ben Affleck, Lively reportedly describes Baldoni as a, quote, chaotic clown director, says there were, quote, wild HR issues on set, and in a separate alleged communication that was revealed by TMZ, Reynolds is quoted as referring to Baldoni as a bleeping terrorist. And then we get the alleged private reaction from Justin Baldoni himself, in his own words. So the filing includes what are presented as text messages that Baldoni sent to a group chat with friends, including actor Rainn Wilson. This was the day after that same January 4th meeting. And the texts are, by the way, timestamped January 5th, 2024 at 6:20 p.m., where Baldoni allegedly writes, quote, sorry for not giving an update. Last night was one of the hardest nights of my life. The only way to describe it was an ambush. I had no words. I couldn't formulate sentences. He goes on to describe the meeting, alleging Ryan was talking to me like a 5-year-old and scolding me. The word creepy and abuse were used in reference to me and my behavior. I was then given the words of what to say and had to apologize, which I was unable to do. I was in shock and basically went into feeling like a 7-year-old again. And then he details the emotional aftermath. Quote, I was emotionally paralyzed, which is something I haven't experienced in years. I spoke to my therapist for an hour, and she tried to get me out of the haze as I literally could not get myself off the couch. I don't know how I will make it through. And in the messages, Baldoni allegedly expresses a desire to fight back, but says he felt trapped. My brain was struggling because what I wanted to say and do was run and blow this whole movie up because I feel this was so unjust, and yet the only path forward was to acknowledge her and Ryan's feelings and apologize and take the wrath of an angry husband. Yeah, I couldn't even do that correctly. And he also includes a spiritual struggle, allegedly writing, I prayed and prayed and prayed for the words and they didn't come, so I felt abandoned by God in that moment. And the filing apparently shows the group's responses, with Rainn Wilson's alleged reply is, oh my God, I can't believe it. You were set up and ambushed and personally attacked. I'm stunned. I completely relate to you being stunned like a deer in the headlights. Now another member, apparently Travis Van Winkle, allegedly responds, love you two so much. You're both freaking warriors. So with all of this now public, Blake Lively's legal team was first to issue a statement, and they focused on the evidence of alleged harassment. You had attorney Sigrid McCauley said that the unsealed documents contain never-before-seen testimony, messages, and evidence from numerous eyewitnesses backing Lively's claims. The statement emphasized that the concerns of Miss Lively and others were documented in real time, and that Wayfarer understood them as sexual harassment concerns. Justin Baldoni's side has not issued a formal new statement in direct response to this unsealing, at least at the time of this recording. However, their position has been laid out in the very documents that we've been reviewing, right? Their narrative, as shown, maintains that Lively's allegations were part of a power grab, that the meeting was an ambush. Legally, their previously stated defense denies all allegations of harassment, claims that Lively was the one who weaponized false claims. And Taylor Swift's team has consistently attempted to distance her from all of this. And prior to this unsealing, her spokesperson said that Taylor Swift never set foot on the set of this movie, was not involved in any casting or creative decisions, and did not even see It Ends With Us until weeks after its public release. And the statement characterized attempts to involve her as just tabloid clickbait. There has been no new comment from her camp on these specific texts, at least at the time of this recording. But Ryan Reynolds has not publicly commented on the witness testimony alleging that he yelled at Baldoni. We don't have a statement at this time either. But the core takeaway from the responses is just the clear divide. You have one side who says the evidence proves a pattern of harassment and cover-up. The other side, through its filed documents, says it proves coercion, a smear campaign. And the unsealing has given each side's narrative new fuel, but no one has backed down. And for what's at stake, I mean, Lively's original, what was it, $160 million lawsuit? The active case, it's moving toward trial. There is a hearing scheduled for January 22nd, and the trial itself is currently set to begin on May 18th. Though I will tell you, as with many high-profile cases, that could shift, maybe even a settlement. We'll see. That's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, please subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you should get your podcasts. You can follow us, by the way, on NBC's Peacock. We have episodes up there. If you want to follow me, check me out on X, Instagram. I got my News Nation show, Jesse Weber Live. Hope you can check that out as well. Until next time, I'm Jesse Weber.